Hi everyone.
Mark was here and he texted the others.
All right, we'll have drivers in a couple of minutes, but before that, let's just talk about the cars a little bit. Have you been to I've seen the LMDH
Not up close,
GTP
no.
cars? Okay. So the rule that we race under here, call it GTP here, but it's an LMDH type car, and it's meant to be built to a certain price point. So certain components are the same for everyone. There is a hybrid system in the car, battery pack as well as electric motor. That's the same for everyone. The chassis has to be built by one of 4 manufacturers. Ours is a Dallara-based car. Porsche, I think, is Multimatic. Cadillac uses also a Dallara chassis. And I point out the Cadillac because if you see the 2 cars on track, they look completely different. And that's the cool part of the rule, is that the cars have to look like the manufacturer. They have to be cars that if it's a Cadillac, it has to look like a Cadillac. If it's a BMW, it has to look like a BMW. So you'll see the kidney grills on it and so on. And actually, if you look at some of our recent concept cars, like the Vision, Efficient Dynamics, and different car, like the Neue Klasse ones, you'll see a lot of the similarities in the nose for those cars to this as well. Unfortunately, the nose isn't on the car right now, but we can have a look at it. So that's that. The engine has to be from the manufacturer. We like twin power turbos, so this is a twin power turbo V8. Similar in concept to what we have in the M5 and the XM.
The V8 is actually, it's an older V8, I think, right from the DTM era?
This engine was originally developed for DTM racing, which was a sprint race, and it's been somewhat detuned, strengthened for endurance racing, and now turbocharged. The original one was naturally aspirated. So it's gone through a development, and now it's used for this. The engines are bulletproof. I mean, they last for the season. Part of the reason for this formula is to try to make it so that customer teams can run these cars as well. So it's not, money's no object. They're built to a price, and Porsche's already sold some customer vehicles. We have not yet. There's a chance we would in the future.
There's talk of BMW selling used to customer teams potentially?
Potentially, yeah. But the rule says you have to be able to provide chassis to customer teams if they want it.
Okay.
So we haven't done it yet. We have 4 cars running right now. We have a couple of test cars as well, but there's only 6 BMWs or so. Where Porsche started the whole program earlier, so they've gotten to the point where they're willing to do custom cars.
You don't have any sister cars in WEC yet?
We do, yeah. We have 2 sister cars in WEC.
Are they going to make it to Le Mans, or
Yeah,
in terms
definitely.
of qualifying?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Great.
They'll be at Le Mans. Yep. Absolutely.
That's what we look forward to.
Yep. So that gives you an idea. The engine is the series monitors how much performance, how much output of the engine total, including the electric motor and the gas motor. So that is regulated by balance of performance, but it's roughly 500 kilowatts, 621 horsepower roughly.
Is that rated on your MTU, or
That is,
in terms of your MTU output?
MGU output is about 20 kilowatts, so a small amount. MGU is the electric motor unit, and it's used mostly for exiting or getting up to speed in the pits. It can provide a little bit of boost on corners if needed, and the battery's regenerated on rear brakes, to give you an idea. This is also the 50th anniversary of BMW North America Racing in IMSA. So the cars, as of Sebring, have a special livery. And unfortunately, the cars are all apart right now, so you can't see some of it.
Every time we do this.
I know. At one time, they'll be together.
We'll try it again at Road later.
Yeah.
Make sure they're together.
But if we have a look at the nose, actually, well, let's walk over and have a look at the nose of the car. When we did the livery, we wanted big things that could be seen on television, so there's a big 50 on the back of the car and so on. But also we wanted close-up things that the fans can see if you come up close to the cars. And there's a timeline that goes over the whole backbone of the car. And it starts in 1975, March 15th, 1975, when BMW North America was first started. So that's number one. Second one was we won Sebring six days later, yep. And then as you go across the car, you'll see different points on the timeline.
So, stupid question, but how often does Letterman or Rahal come down to see what's going on?
Letterman's come to see us a couple of times.
Really?
Yeah. If he comes, it's usually one of the huge races like Daytona or, yeah. But yeah, he's
bigger, 24 hours.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
So, in terms of your downforce, do you need to change your design sometimes, or?
The series rules dictate how much downforce we have, roughly. In balance of performance, they will adjust certain things, but not much of the aero has changed. So it's a ratio of downforce to drag that they give us. So very.
Do you ever think they're going to introduce DRS within this?
I don't think so, because that's pretty expensive to do.
Yeah.
They're in the pure hypercar, they do it, I think, in WEC, but on the LMDH rules, there's no provision for it.
So, in terms of goal difference between the Ferrari and your current car, what is your goals to try and get to their level?
In WEC?
Yes.
I'm not really that familiar with the WEC program. I'm more familiar with the US. In the US one, we're at the very top of the range, right?
Of course, we don't have any Ferraris in our IMSA system.
Well, we don't allow pure hypercar in IMSA.
Right.
So LMDH is the top level,
Right.
whereas in WEC, the hypercar is really top level.
That's why I asked the question about.
And those
Le
are
Mans.
money, no object. I mean,
Yeah, but that's where I asked about Le Mans. How close do you think you can get?
that's up to the series to adjust.
Oh,
But I would pose this, like, why would you go with a hypercar when you're going to get adjusted down? Why not go with an LMDH?
yeah.
What would be the time difference approximately between an LMDH and a hypercar BMW?
Depends on balance and performance. They try to make them equalize. So, what can?
It's hard to judge. Yeah.
Sorry,
I see.
I see the wing structure and the diffuser are integrated into one unit. Does that have any implications for like how you run the car or anything like that? It's a very fascinating system. I've never seen it done that way before.
No. We play around with the little dive planes, but that's pretty much it. The rest of it is homologated a certain way, and that's it. So when we worked with the Dallara to develop the car, Dallara gives you a basic tub and the underfloor portion of it, and then you have to put a body on it that looks like a BMW, but also doesn't create drag or lift or anything bad. So it goes into wind tunnel and it gets massaged so that it fits within the window that the rules say it needs to be in. And at that point it gets homologated and it doesn't change. So you'll see different solutions on different cars, but ultimately they generate the same sort of downforce.
So your transition from a normally aspirated to a twin turbo, that decision was made.
That decision was a pretty easy one for us because we're trying to make a connection between what we sell on the street and what we're racing in the series around the world.
Not necessarily performance on the track.
No, but with a turbo engine you have more control over the output of the engine at different RPM. So we can generate more torque early and keep a flat torque curve. You've seen it on our street cars where it goes up quickly and is flat. Naturally aspirated, you're always going to have a peak. So it gives you the ability to do that sort of thing. We've used turbo engines in our race cars and GT since the M6. So
Makes sense.
we like it, and it ties into the street cars that we sell.
And you got a championship out of that.
Yeah. So it was. There wasn't a lot of debate over what the engine was going to be in terms of turbocharged versus naturally aspirated. Finding what the base engine was going to be was a bit more interesting,
Right.
but it turned out the DTM engine was well suited for it, so it worked out well.
I've been going back and forth with Kevin about the Valkyrie sound.
Yeah,
What do you think? Look at us laugh. That tells it all.
it sounds great.
Yeah.
I mean, but their solution is different, right?
Yeah. You got a
Very,
V12.
very different.
And we all have slightly different solutions here. So, and it's nice that they can all race against each other and be competitive.
Right. But his main thing was it's actually designed as a road-going car and then brought in as a track car, as opposed to the other way around.
Pretty extreme road-going car, though. But again, in order for them to be an LMDH car, it has to be one of the 4 chassis manufacturers. So the whole road car thing is pretty iffy.
There's a rumor out there that Porsche is going to make a street version of their car. Does BMW, would they ever do something like that? Even as like a one-off to celebrate 50 years, maybe?
I find that hard to believe that they would. These things are.
That's what I've heard. So
Yeah,
I would love it if
we
they
can
It wants to be number 1 on the list. Is what
we
he's
can
saying.
we can have a look.
BMW needs to be at the top.
We can have a look at the car. I don't think this.
Yeah, can we take a look?
Yeah.
What's your favorite BMW overall? Side language, drive, doesn't matter.
Before I answer that question, and before we get too close to the car, it's really important on these cars because they have high voltage systems not to touch the cars. If there's a fault in the electric battery unit, the car could be charged as a carbon fiber car. So
Yeah.
400 volts apparently feels really bad.
Yeah.
If they have a green light on the A-pillar, that means they're safe.
Yeah.
If it's got the green hat on the top, it's
Right.
also supposed to be safe. This one doesn't have the green light on, which has me a little concerned.
Let's not touch that.
So let's not touch it. They're working on it, and no one's been.
That's what you're looking for when you come into the pits.
Yes.
Yeah.
That it's grounded and that you can.
Yeah, and also if there's
For the
a
safety crew as well.
exactly, and if there's a safety crew on track, they have to look at that. And if it's not green, they won't touch the car, and the driver has to get out without touching the ground and the car at the same time. So
There was some drama at Daytona when this car was first raced.
yes,
I remember there was an incident,
yeah.
and he pulled in off the side, and
Yeah.
the safety cars got out there. All the personnel
Well,
got
and
there,
that was
didn't touch it.
that was the spot where they're supposed to stop in case of that was first race,
Yeah,
first
race,
season.
pulled into the side, and then just sat there. The safety people there, and they didn't want to touch the car
Right.
at all.
Right, and it did have an issue with the.
Yeah.
It didn't charge the body,
Right.
but so
You've had some mishaps.
no, we haven't.
Oh, that's good.
This is safety
Right.
protocol.
Right.
Okay, so we can have a look at it.
Okay.
Front suspension,
Right.
pretty tight setup. You can see the shock going across. Spring unit. Carbon brakes on these.
Carbon brakes. Right. In terms of, now, I'm going to ask you a question. I know maybe you're not up to this, but recent data from F1, because, and I'm trying to translate this a little bit, McLaren from a scan was found to have an image, a thermal image of blue glowing, as opposed to the other teams I think you might have heard of it, of red or orange.
Okay.
The composite inside the brakes might be different in terms of like maybe space shuttle that will absorb more heat. Are you all in the same spec for this?
Yeah.
So you can't go out and grab space shuttle stuff and give it composite.
Yeah, you guys are running brakes that are given to you from manufacturers.
Yeah. We can choose pads. We can play around with certain things, but not that.
Really?
Formula One's a whole.
Leeway do you
Not
have?
much.
Not much at all.
Not much.
What manufacturer is the brakes?
They're Brembo's, I believe. Yeah. Okay, we can walk down the side of the car. It doesn't make for a great street car.
Oh yeah.
There's not a lot of room in there. No. And the Porsche's no bigger. So.
How does it work with the driver weight? Does that really matter that much? Or you have
They're
leeway
pretty
with that?
close, actually,
Okay, so
in
you
weight.
just have to maintain the
Yeah,
tread weight?
yeah. More importantly, they need to be really limber to get in and out of it. It's not the easiest car. And then coming over here, we've got the business end of things.
Your dual clutch 8-speed or
It's a single clutch.
single clutch?
Yeah.
So you run the engine all year? How many rebuilds?
No rebuilds.
No rebuilds.
No.
Yeah,
That-
you said at the beginning they're very durable.
Yeah.
I'm surprised no rebuilds.
We have several engines, and we'll rotate them out. They'll do some checks on them, but typically the engines,
A lot of time.
and that's true of all the GT3s as well.
Okay.
You don't need to change them anymore.
Remember the championship-winning BMW back when, 1999, I believe.
Yeah.
You have no issues with 24 hours.
No.
If you put that
yeah.
into,
But if you think about a whole season,
But the LMR engine in 1999 did not last the whole season.
oh, it did.
No.
Just for that one race.
It would have done one 24-hour race and then get rebuilt. But these are not very heavily stressed. Yeah.
That engine wasn't twin turbo.
No, it was just a
Naturally
Astra
aspirated.
SVB12. So we have control over the suspension setup, of course the engine, and the transmission is provided to us.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's an X-Track unit with the electric motor shaft in the bell housing, and that's it.
You guys provided by Bosch, if I recall.
Bosch, I can't remember which is which now. I think Bosch is the GRU, the electric motor, and Cosworth is the battery pack.
That's what I was going to say, Cosworth.
Yeah.
That's not a Cosworth transmission.
No, it's X-Track.
how do you determine who's going to qualify the car?
We're peppering him. I'm sorry.
No, that's
You're good.
That's. It used to be that we would alternate back and forth. This season, it seems that Dries Vantour is, he loves to qualify.
Yeah.
He's got a knack for doing one insane lap,
Yeah.
and
His
so
brother too, though.
yeah, his brother as well. So it works for those two guys. And it's fine for us too. A pole is a pole, right?
Otherwise, you try to keep it even and just swap. Like,
Yeah.
Whoever is going to be like. Yeah, okay.
One thing to notice on suspension, we have 3 springs and shocks at the back. We don't always run that, but that way you can separate full rear axle control bounce versus one each wheel.
Okay.
So that's why you would have 3.
Do you recall what races you did with 2 shocks versus obviously 3?
This year it's all been 3, but in previous years we've used 2 sometimes.
There's probably some track-specific thing where it would make sense.
Yeah, and part of it is learning what works.
Yeah.
So.
But you don't have necessarily a ride height spec per track.
No, there's a ride height spec for the series.
The series.
Yeah.
So your plank or your floor.
And that's the plank.
Yeah.
And if that gets too worn,
Yeah.
then you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Porsche got disqualified once
Yeah.
after winning.
But it depends on how bumpy that track.
Yes, and how soft you sprung the car.
So Spa, you're going to maybe.
Couldn't tell you on
But like,
Spa.
I don't know about Spa.
I don't know about Spa.
I'm just saying, WEC, they would put a different, possibly, plank in there for.
No. The plank is the same for everyone.
Oh, really?
Yes. So that is a type of wood that they
So that's
can.
interchangeable with WEC. You just say.
Absolutely.
WEC says, I need a plank. Okay, here you go.
Yeah.
Oh, same spec.
Same rules.
Same spec.
Same
Yeah.
spec, not rules.
The ride height, I don't know
Yeah.
what the ride height is
Yeah.
there versus here,
Yeah.
but the car is the same.
Because we know that F1 per track has a different spec for this car.
Yeah, not us.
And isn't that crazy? So they say if you can be within this tolerance on this track, then you're legal.
Yeah. Well, tolerance, yes, but the plank doesn't change. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Depends on how many, I guess, well, it's not going to bottom out, but.
Yeah, it does bottom out. Yeah.
But
Oh
your,
yeah.
your apex will wear that guy down too.
No, this is in the center of the car. It shouldn't be touching on the apex.
Okay.
Shouldn't be.
Well, you guys have good music.
And then you may have heard about the torque sensors on the axles. That's these things right here.
Yeah.
That measures how much torque is going out to the rear wheels.
Right.
And the series monitors that. Yeah. And that's how they adjust balance
We're
performance.
up to speed.
Okay, good. Well, that's the actual $1 million part right there.
How
So
do you guys feel about CO2 so far this year?
in this class, it's pretty straightforward, and it's pretty minor stuff. So they play with weight a little bit. They play with horsepower a little bit. It's pretty minor.
There's a lot of complaints from WEC this year.
Yeah.
The WEC is doing it differently. So.
The WEC does it differently. Yes.
But can they tell you, oh, okay, we're going to give you some concessions because we know it was faulty
Faulty.
in terms of if it's a faulty unit.
Oh no, that's
Given
bad.
wrong data. If it's given wrong data,
No.
you say, well, come on now.
No.
No?
No.
MJ
They don't.
play that.
They don't. A, they don't fail.
Okay.
B, they'd probably think you made it fail so that you wouldn't have. If it failed and you won, you'd be in big trouble. So, they're pretty solid pieces.
So
So
they should have a megaphone that says, too much crank at the rear. You know?
no, they monitor it real time, and we know.
They have a tolerance for that too, though. I mean,
Very minor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very minor. Yeah.
Data doesn't lie.
this guy got pulled in for some overweight stuff. Drank too much water or something, didn't he? You know, tech is no joke, though. They're no joke. You try to say, hey, come on.
Nope. No joke.
So when I raced, I came here to Skip Barber many years ago, and my first class, one of the students was Connor McPhillips. And I've known him ever since. He's a good guy.
Yes, he
I was
is.
sad he got let go.
I know.
Yeah, he's a good kid.
But he likes GT cars better anyway, so good for him.
So with this being a spoke chassis, are there any things on here that surprised you as either being great to work on that you wish other race cars you've worked on in the past had, or that are just a total pain that you want to see changed for like an Evo version of this car?
That's a tough question to answer. Not really. This is a really cool piece of kit, and the chassis itself is just the beginning. I mean, it's the safety cell and the bolt-up points for the engine and so on. The rest of it's all BMW. So it
Now,
Hard to say.
I'm going to ask you about the unspeakable.
yeah,
We know it's the drivetrain.
right.
How was that handled in terms of, I'm not going to ask you about specifics, but how do you go about that in generality?
Lots and lots of practice.
Really?
Yeah,
With kid gloves and all that.
with the gloves on, with the helmet on, everything. And if you saw our practice this morning, there were a lot of hot pits
Really?
for more practice. The Porsches came in the same time we did. They got out a second before we did.
Yeah.
And it was all on the driver change.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
it's unacceptable.
Do you guys practice outside of the races, or
Yes.
you do? Okay.
Yes, but we don't, because the drivers are in Europe. We don't have, we have stand-ins for drivers, but that's why it's important to do it here.
That's a brutal game, but
That's racing. That's part of it. And
that's why you get paid the big bucks. So,
Somebody does.
somebody does, yeah. So anyway, that's in a nutshell.
That's racing.
Yeah, that's racing.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it.
You're welcome. We should have got out in front of those Porsches last time.
Yeah. Well, we'll see tomorrow.
We'll see tomorrow.
You know, Porsche is, they were slow coming out. Now they've kind of come into their own, but they still haven't gotten the granddaddy. And we'll see what happens at Le Mans.
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, Daytona's good, but the granddaddy, if they cannot do that, because we still think that Ferrari has that edge, but we'll see what happens. But I think, you know, your wet cars will probably get up to that level. And
Yep,
that's what we
should.
want to see.
You should.
Do you guys worry too much about qualifying? I mean, I know it's important to get a good lap and have the car be competitive, but
Depends on the race.
yeah. So okay.
Depends on the race. If it's one of the long distance races, it doesn't really matter.
Exactly.
You get some extra points though,
Oh,
so
okay.
you go for it. But for a sprint race, absolutely.
Yeah. And if you look at Porsche's qualifying for Le Mans,
Yeah.
it's traditionally been 5th or 4th in the longer races.
Yeah.
So they don't really care about it. They care about
For
reliability.
in long races, you might sacrifice on qualifying to have the right tire for the start of the race, so they might not be ideal for when you're qualifying. Things like that.
or an ideal owner that wants to drive at midnight.
Well, we're pro only, so that doesn't matter to us. But
we've seen some.
Yeah.
I mean, my goodness.
but
Well, thank you very much.
you're welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you.